Hello, everybody. I'm very happy today to welcome Hollie Lowe, who is a certified grief counselor and is also someone who has experienced wife abandonment. So she really knows the subject. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Hollie so that we can discuss this aspect of what hits you when your husband leaves. And it's very interesting. Like very often we talk about, and first I want to say hello, Holly. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Vicky, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks.
Okay. So very often we talk about the pain of when he leaves, the hurt, the sadness, sometimes even the anger, although I usually say the anger comes later. But we don't often talk about the grief. And so often people associate the word grief with the loss of someone through death. And so this loss that we've experienced of being abandoned and having the marriage sort of end very suddenly and our whole lives change really has an aspect of loss and grief to it. And so I'm wondering if we could start off with you sort of addressing like how is the grief from abandonment different from the grief from loss?
Sure, that's a great question. And just using the word grief, and
Hmm.
I'm so glad that you're willing to kind of go here with this because, again, when most people hear the word grief, they think death,
Yeah,
a
sure.
death of someone. And whenever we study grief, we find out that there's over 20 different types of grief. It's very
Okay.
interesting to study. When someone passes away, that's called conventional grief.
Yes.
With conventional grief, everyone knows what to do.
Yes.
Conventional grief. Here in the South, we're going to show up with food. That's what we're going to do. We're
Right.
going to show up with chicken and casseroles. We know that there's going to be some sort of a service, whether a funeral, a celebration of life. We've got a pretty good idea of what we're going to wear. It's
Yeah.
conventional grief. But the type of grief that we find whenever we experience abandonment,
Hmm.
it's called ambiguous grief,
Hmm.
ambiguous loss. And we're left with a lot of those feelings, especially the shock and the disbelief, because so many times we did not see it coming.
Yeah.
Maybe we had even just recommitted. We truly are shocked. This is grief because grief actually is about loss.
Yes.
And what more loss could there be than my husband has just walked out and never looked back?
Yes.
So it is grief, but it has a term. It's called ambiguous grief or ambiguous loss. Part of that is there's no closure.
Yes.
Lots of times there's no communication
Yes.
and there's no explanation.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's where it comes in. It does have a term. I think it's important that everybody understands there's a name for this. And in counseling, we talk about, and Vicki, you know this, I know you use it. If you can name it, you can tame it. If we
Hmm.
can start to get on top, let's call it what it is.
Hmm.
Even in 12-step programs, first step is you name it.
Yes.
Let's
Exactly.
name. This
Yeah.
is grief. I am grieving the loss of the relationship the way it was. I'm
Yes.
grieving the loss of the relationship the way I thought it would be.
Yes.
Grief.
So many losses. And you're talking about in like in a death that there are sort of prescribed rituals and behaviors. And in an abandonment, you're on your own. There's no template, there's no traditions, there are no Hallmark cards for this. And so that very often how this extends out to the community is that people don't know how to approach somebody
Exactly.
who has experienced this kind of loss and who may be grieving. And I think people become uncomfortable
Mhm.
with a woman who is like profoundly mourning and grieving because they're saying, well, a lot of people get divorced, what's the big deal? And so that lack of any kind of ritual or any kind of even understanding on the part of other people that this is not a typical divorce and that grief is an element of it sort of compounds how hard it is because there aren't any traditions.
There aren't any traditions, and you're exactly right in that no one knows what to do. And what we find happening is sometimes the very people we thought were going to be the ones that were there for us are the ones that disappear.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
not. And what we find are groups like yours,
Yeah,
where we find other women where we can come together, where there's no judgment,
yes,
where there's no trying to fix it, because we don't need anything fixed. It can't be fixed. And
yes.
oftentimes, I think well meaning friends want to try to somehow
Yeah, cheer
fix
you
it.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we need to be allowed, just like in all the other different types of grief, to
yes,
kind of sit in it and lean into it,
yes,
experience it, and feel it. But what happens is it makes other people uncomfortable,
yes, exactly. Yeah,
because we do have a husband walk away. It affected them too, because so many times we were couple friends.
yeah.
And what I have found in the women that I've talked with, worked with, met through you
Hmm.
is they didn't just walk away from us and our children, they
Hmm.
walked away from the friends also. They
Yes.
walked away from their life.
Hmm.
So they're dealing with their own grief, friends and families dealing with their own grief, but many times they don't call it that either.
Yes.
But how many times do we hear, oh, you know, people get divorced all the time?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that a lot of times people have the community, friends, family have an expectation. You
Mhm.
know, it's been 3 months already. You know, why aren't you over it? Now, if your husband was killed in an automobile accident, nobody would say to you after 3 months, you know, pull up your socks and get out there and start dating again. You know,
Ever.
that just would never happen. So
Mhm.
that there isn't really room for women to experience the grief, and I think they do it to themselves as well. They feel like I'm doing this wrong because it's 6 months and I'm still crying every day, for example.
Yes.
And you know, so giving for a woman to give herself permission to
Mhm.
feel what she's feeling without thinking there's something wrong with her,
Right.
is, I think it's an essential part. Like, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. And to allow ourselves to feel it over and over and over again,
Yes,
that we can do the work. We can get in with a therapist. We can get in with a group. We can work through, because with grief, what we find is that all types of grief, people want to go over, under, or around it.
yes,
Nobody wants to go through the grief.
yes,
And that's a great way to get stuck, is trying
yes,
to figure out how to go over, under, or around. We
yes,
have to walk through it. And
yes,
what we find in grief work is we're going to take 2 or 3 steps forward and we are going to shuffle backwards.
yes,
It's just part of it. And I think many times with women, we get so down on ourselves when we have that shuffle step back.
yeah,
I thought I'd done so much work. I
yes,
did retreat. I used my journal. I'm seeing my therapist, and why am I still crying for this person? It's
yeah,
been 6 months. It's been
yeah,
8 months.
yeah,
The holidays are coming. It was our anniversary, and we don't have any grace with ourselves.
yes. You're so right, Holly. So I suppose, you know, women who are watching this video might be questioning, so how long should it take? I'm doing should in air quotes.
Because there's no
I-
timeline. You
yeah,
know it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, sometimes, you know, if I do a Sedona retreat, or some women come and their husband left 5 years ago. Now,
Mhm.
are they still actively grieving every day, crying and mourning? Maybe not. But there's still recovery to be done.
Right.
But, you know, so how would you advise people, you know, who are questioning how long should it take?
With any type of grief, there's no timeline. And I encourage everyone, don't let anyone try to put a timeline on your grief.
Yes,
They don't know. Other people have no idea the intricacies, the idiosyncrasy, all of those little teeny tiny parts of
yes,
your relationship and your marriage. Nobody knows that.
yes,
You know it,
exactly.
your partner knew it.
Yeah,
And you know what? The other thing I tell people to give themselves some grace is, if you loved hard, you're going to grieve hard.
yes,
If you were passionate about your relationship, your grief is going to be passionate and it's going to be big.
Yes.
And if you were in a marriage for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years,
Yeah.
how are you possibly going to get over it
Yes.
6 months?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
even make sense when we
Yeah.
say the words. Now, there is such a thing, Vicki, and you know as well as I do, that's called complicated grief.
Yes.
If after, and to get a diagnosis of this, and it can be diagnosed,
Hmm.
if after 6 months we are still finding ourselves every single day being
Hmm.
impacted to the point that we can't go to work
Hmm.
and that it is really changing our day-to-day life, we really need to get in. We've got to talk to a therapist. We
Hmm.
may need to use an antidepressant for a
Hmm.
while, and there's nothing wrong with that because
Yes.
complicated grief is very, very real. It's usually because it is compounded, it's compounded grief.
Exactly. Yeah.
But should we still have those days where I can't get out of bed? Well, of course you should.
Yeah.
You know, I actually tell a lot of my clients, I'd be more worried about you if you didn't have those days.
Yes.
6 months out, a
Yeah.
year out, even 5 years out,
Yeah.
there's just going to be things that creep up on us, and it's almost always sensory.
Yes.
Smell something, we
Yeah.
taste something,
Yeah.
we hear
Hear a
something,
song on the radio. Yeah.
and that sensory memory comes flooding back,
Yes.
and we're back at the time when we were in love,
Yes. Yeah.
or we're back at the night that he left.
Yes.
And it's okay to go there. We just
Yeah.
don't want to stay there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, that is such great advice. So when we talk about grief, what are we talking about? It's a feeling and it's a behavior.
Yes.
Like usually, often, it for many women, it has to do with crying, giving permission to yourself to cry,
Mhm.
and then feeling this longing, this hurt, this longing, this missing somebody, wishing that you could have him back or talk to him or just get him for an hour to listen to you or whatever. It's just the longing, and it's that hurt. And then what would be some healthy ways of coping with grief? And you've already mentioned one, and I totally endorse this concept, which is that don't be afraid of your feelings. Stay with your feelings. It's okay to have those feelings. And I think people sometimes are afraid that they're going to drown in grief, you know. But if you can stay with it, often you'll find that it sort of lightens up after 20 minutes or a half hour of you really feeling it. And sometimes it can even be cathartic to have a good cry.
It can.
You hear that song come on the radio, and even now, for me, like 18 years later, there are certain songs that are going to go, whoa, it's going to stop me up. And you have a good cry, and you might feel better about it. But so what kind of ways can women deal with the grief that sound healthy to you, Holly?
Another really, really good, like you said, allowing yourself to feel your feelings. I am big on journaling. I think
Yes.
it just imperative to be able to journal. Now,
Yes.
I do want to say this though. I think it's important to have a separate grief journal.
Okay.
I encourage people to have a gratitude journal
Yes.
and to have a grief journal.
Yes.
I tend to ask my clients to work on that gratitude journal at night before we go to bed,
Okay.
not the grief journal at night before we go to bed.
Okay.
But have a designated time, a designated place where you
Okay.
feel safe, where you feel comfortable. You might even have on a diffuser, a candle, just a safe place where I'm going to do my grief work. I'm
Yes.
going to set aside this time to do some grief work. I know it's not going to be comfortable. I'm going to have my Kleenex right here with me, but
Yeah.
I'm ready to go there. And
Yes.
there's actual grief work. There are grief workshops. There are grief journals that are
Yes.
out there that have prompts in them. So
Yes.
allowing yourself to write, because it's so healthy to be able to
Mm.
go back and read, wow, look at where I was and where I have come to,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
to acknowledge, look how far I've come.
Yeah.
And to be able to write down, I spent the evening wrapped in his clothes,
Mm-hmm.
standing in his closet,
Mm-hmm.
laying on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and just being able to say those things out loud. Another really beneficial thing
You're
is
gonna
to
make
be
me
able,
cry. You're gonna make me cry.
it's to be able to get in with a group of women and
Yes.
hear these things come out of other people's mouths. Because
Yes.
I know you hear this. I hear all the time from clients, is what I'm doing normal? Is
Yes.
what I'm feeling normal?
Yeah.
And my answer to that is, are you doing it?
Yeah.
And it's normal to you.
Yeah. Yes. Sure. Yeah.
Own it. It's normal to you.
Yeah.
I think it's important also to have some rituals and eventually have some rituals of closure.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that it's going away. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we are saying that 40-year marriage never happened. We're not
Yeah.
saying that at all.
Yeah.
But we can say, and I borrow this from you, Vicki, where we get to the point where it's in the rearview mirror
Yes.
and I'm doing a whole lot of looking forward now.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Now, that doesn't come 2 weeks after he leaves.
Right.
That doesn't come 2 months after he leaves. For
Yes.
some people, it's a year. For some people, it's 2 years. For some people, it's 5 years
Yeah.
because not a timeline. But
Yeah.
eventually, we want those kind of rituals of closure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, so we were just in Sedona, and one of the things that we did was a letting go ceremony.
Mm.
So we talked about not having rituals. And, we did a little ceremony where you sat and, everyone sat and thought about, what was important from the marriage, what you want to take away from it. And then you want to sort of use nature, go out in nature and just sort of let it go in whatever way feels ritually right for you.
Mhm.
And sometimes women in the community have talked about actually having a ritual where friends come over and they talk about, I don't know, the good times, the bad times, and they burn a candle and they have a piece of cake or something, and those rituals are very healing and they don't have to be very fancy.
No, they don't. And I'll tell you, having just gone through that with you, it
Yeah.
was so interesting to be with a group of women and to see some people, as we used, as you said, nature. We had this rock is representing this piece of wood is representing that.
Yeah.
Some people gently placed them under trees.
Yes.
Some people buried them under leaves.
Yes.
Some people threw them as far as they could.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
people, it was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what was wrong and what was right?
Yeah.
They were all right.
Yeah, of
They
course.
were all right.
Of course.
And then
Yes.
writing that eulogy to your marriage. You can write a eulogy to the relationship. And I encourage clients to write letters to their husband.
Hmm.
Don't mail it,
Hmm.
but keep them.
Yes.
I've done this myself.
Hmm.
And I go back and look at what I wrote in September of last year,
Yes.
in January of this year,
Yeah.
May of this year, and 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And wow, do I see me getting
Yes.
me.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the letters
Amazing.
aren't about
Yeah.
him, the
Yes.
letters are about me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, amazing. It's really amazing. And I suppose that so like sort of in wrapping up, like there's this idea of doing, and I'm so interested that there are grief journals that have prompts
I do.
in them. It's doing permitting yourself to do a bit of the work, to do a bit of the grief work, either on your own or through an organization in your area. And I know it's hard if we're looking at grief work that the other people in the group are going to be, their spouses have died. So, it's going to feel a little weird, So I suppose like either through our community or other divorce communities, that's the grief work too.
Yes.
So that you're in with other people who get it, who know what you're going through,
Right.
and that you're going to really, really put some intention towards this grief recovery and be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
So that in sort of in wrapping up, is there any sort of final suggestion that you would make, to women who are going through this?
Something I want to make sure is as we're in this, it is a crisis,
Yes.
but we can turn it into, I want to make sure we hear this term, a crisis of meaning.
Yes.
crisis of meaning. There may be times that we doubt our faith, that
Yes.
we doubt our life's purpose,
Yes.
that we doubt life's fairness
Yeah.
because we are currently in crisis.
Yes.
But let's reframe it and get with other women who've been through it. If
Yes.
you can get in a group where there's people behind you and people in front of you,
Yes.
you turn that crisis into a crisis of meaning.
Yes.
And when you've got people to come alongside you, not fix it.
Yeah.
They're not fix it. They're just going to come alongside you, let you cry,
Hmm.
hold you,
Hmm.
not judge.
Yes.
Just one of the very best things that you can do for yourself.
Yeah. Beautiful. Hollie, thank you so much. This has been really meaningful, really powerful. I know it's going to help a lot of people, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Take care.